Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Let's just jump right in, shall we? When most of us hear the word walking, we probably just picture a pretty mundane way of getting from point A to point B. It's just transport, right? Well, today, the source material we're digging into looks at walking through a totally different lens. We're talking about the dynamic, literally full body transformation that is power walking. We're going to break down how just making a few deliberate tweaks to your stride can turn a simple, everyday activity into an absolute game changer for your health, your fitness, and your mental well-being. To kick things off, there's this incredible quote from Leonardo da Vinci. He actually called the foot a masterpiece of engineering and a work of art. And wow, when you really stop and think about it, it's wild how much we take that for granted. I mean, we've got this literal masterpiece of biological engineering right at the end of our legs, packing 26 bones, 32 joints, and just hundreds of nerve endings. But let's be real, in our modern lives, we're mostly just sitting, right? Sitting in cars, sitting at desks. All that incredible machinery goes vastly underutilized. So it is time we put that masterpiece back to work. Which brings us right into section 1, the power of walking. Okay, so we've all been through that classic cycle of fitness burnout, haven't we? You get super motivated, you hit the gym incredibly hard for a few weeks, and then, life happens, you get bored, and boom, you're right back to square one. But the author of our source material, Nina Barrow, she offers a totally different approach. Back in 1997, Nina was diagnosed with breast cancer. Her whole world fell apart. But during her months of treatment, she actually turned to power walking to help her heal. By combining walking, nutrition, and positive visualization, she used this really simple exercise to help conquer her illness. She actually found that power walking gave her more energy and vibrance than she'd ever had. And honestly, the sheer volume of physical benefits backs this up. Seriously, just 30 minutes, a half-hour daily walk, acts as a massive catalyst for your entire body. Let's run through it. It reduces tension and stress. It pumps up your cardiovascular fitness, which boosts your HDL, your healthy cholesterol. Just the impact of your own body weight strengthens your bones to ward off osteoporosis. Plus, the increased circulation speeds up your metabolism, detoxifies your system, promotes deep, restful sleep, and, this is a huge one, it boosts your immune system, which is your main barrier against everything from a common cold to heart disease. The return on investment for a daily walk, it is absolutely staggering.
So let's move on to section 2, strolling versus power walking.
Now we're shifting from the why to the what. A lot of folks have this persistent misconception that walking isn't a real workout, right? Like you have to be running or absolutely suffering to see any results. Well, to completely dispel that myth, let's mentally walk up a 5-step ladder of walking styles. Step 1 is the stroll, just a casual, super slow pace. Step 2 is your average walk, cruising at about 3 miles per hour. But step 3 is where the magic happens, power walking. This is the absolute sweet spot. It raises your heart rate enough to get those incredible cardiovascular benefits, and it actually burns calories at a rate comparable to running, but, and this is key, without the immense joint strain. For context, beyond that, you've got speed walking at step 4, and finally, Olympic race walking at step 5, which hits crazy speeds like 9 miles per hour and has all these strict hip roll rules. But don't worry about those. For our purposes today, we are focusing squarely on step 3.
So the crucial difference here is the technique. Your average walk clocks in around 3 miles per hour. That's about 20 minutes to finish a mile. You're just naturally swinging your arms, taking it easy. But a power walk, that pushes the pace up to 5 miles per hour. That is a 12-minute mile. To hit that speed, your mechanics have to completely change. You are purposefully pushing off each stride from your toes, keeping your back leg straight for maximum strength and stability, and your arms, well, they aren't just casually swinging anymore. Your elbows need to be locked at a 90-degree angle, punching back and forth in this really deliberate, almost piston-like action to literally drive your body forward.
All right, moving into section 3, understanding your feet.
Now that we've got the full body mechanics down, let's shift our focus all the way down to ground level. Because get this, every single time your foot strikes the ground, it bears 2.25 times your body weight. That is massive. So understanding your own unique biomechanics is absolutely essential if you want to prevent injury and really maximize that powerful straight leg push-off we just talked about. To figure this out, I want you to mentally try what's called the wet foot test. Just imagine dipping your bare foot into some water, shaking off the excess, and then stepping across a piece of dark poster board. What does that footprint look like? Does it form a thick, solid, flat band where your arch is supposed to be? Or does it just show the outer edge of your foot, with the middle totally missing? Or maybe it's somewhere nicely in the middle. This simple little test tells you exactly how your foot absorbs impact.
But hey, if you don't feel like getting your feet wet, no problem at all. Just go grab your current everyday shoes. Checking the treadwear on those bad boys reveals your natural walking gait just as well. Look closely at the heels right at eye level. Are they really heavily worn down on the inside edge? Or maybe they're super worn down on the outside edge. The specific way you wear down that rubber is basically a direct map of how your feet are hitting the pavement every single day.
So, what does this all mean? Well, here is why this matters so much. If your foot rolls heavily inward and your arch is flattened out, you have what's called excessive pronation. This can literally twist your foot, your shin, your knee, and your hip, basically throwing your entire body completely out of alignment. On the flip side, if your foot rolls outward and just doesn't have enough of that inward motion, you have supination, and that leads to some very high-impact, harsh landings. Identifying whether you pronate, supinate, or have a nice neutral gait is literally the most crucial step you can take before you even think about looking at walking gear.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 4, gear and lacing up.
The real beauty of power walking is that you do not need a garage full of expensive, complicated equipment. But you absolutely unequivocally have to have the right shoes. Your footwear is your main tool here, and picking the right pair is totally non-negotiable for a good experience. A proper power walking shoe needs to have a highly flexible sole. Why? Because that mimics the natural heel-to-toe roll of your foot. You also need a nice, roomy toe box. Think about a 2-finger width between your longest toe and the end of the shoe, so your toes can naturally splay out during that powerful push-off. And finally, you definitely need a low-cut heel to protect your Achilles tendon from rubbing. Actually, this is exactly why you should never ever use rigid hiking boots for power walking. Hiking boots are designed to lock your ankle in place, and they have super stiff soles. That completely blocks the fluid, rolling motion that power walking requires. And trust me, it will absolutely lead to pain.
Now, you might be wondering, what if you find a fantastic pair of shoes, but your foot is just a bit wide or your heel keeps annoyingly slipping out the back? Well, it is incredibly cool how you can customize your fit using literally just your shoelaces. For example, by simply skipping the eyelets right in the middle of the shoe, you can instantly give a wider foot some much-needed breathing room. Or let's say you have a narrow heel that always slips. You can create these really clever little lace bars up at the top eyelets, loop your laces through them, and essentially lock your heel firmly into place. It's just amazing how a super simple lacing trick can custom tailor a standard, mass-produced shoe to fit your unique foot perfectly.
Let's wrap up with some final pro tips for maximum comfort. First off, always buy your shoes in the afternoon. You see, your feet actually naturally swell throughout the day and whenever you exercise, so you really want to try shoes on when your feet are at their absolute largest. Second tip, dress in thin synthetic layers. You're looking for high-performance materials that pull moisture right away from your skin. And please, avoid cotton at all costs. Seriously, cotton feels nice when you put it on, but the second you start sweating, it just clings to you, it stays soaking wet, and it will make you incredibly cold. Synthetic layers, on the other hand, allow you to easily peel off a jacket, tie it around your waist, and keep your core body temperature perfectly regulated.
So we've covered the mechanics, the frankly astounding physical and mental benefits, how to read your very own footprints, and exactly how to lace up the right gear. We've seen firsthand how just a few simple tweaks can turn a basic everyday walk into a full body transformation. That literal masterpiece of engineering at the end of your legs is just waiting to be fully utilized. So the only real question left is this: knowing exactly what your stride is capable of. How will you walk out your door tomorrow? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time.